Hello friends, welcome back. I'm Nick. This is MSFS Flight Plans, and if you want to see if it's actually possible to save the world through simming, well, you're in the right place. If you guys have been at this for a while, you know pretty much all of China is just flyover country in the sim. You do not want to get close to the ground out here. It looks so bad. Even if you are cruising at 40,000 feet, it is just painful to look out the window in most areas. And if you've been around this channel for a while, you know how much that breaks my heart, because this massive country has some of the most spectacular cities and landscapes and structures on the whole planet. It's just beautiful in real life. Unfortunately, not so great in the sim. And if you've seen any of our recent flights, you know that I've been playing around with the Map Enhancement app, and I've even teased out the possibility of ponying up the cash to upgrade to the Pro version, mainly just to see if I can get it to make any part of China to look good enough for a flight, and I went ahead and did it. I got it. So when you get the basic version, the free version, it comes with several different map options. In any areas where it already looks pretty good, you don't want to put the map in, but parts of Asia, most of Asia, it can really help a lot. But the Pro version, I noticed, had some HD maps of China, 3 of them actually. One of them was just updated a couple days ago, so that's what we've got in here now. We're going to check it out. It was $5 for a 30-day subscription, or like $30 for a whole year, but I didn't want to get the whole year because maybe 2024 will clean it up. So what I'm about to show you is what you're going to get for $5 if you've just always wanted to check out some better scenery in China. So we're going to do it. So let's go ahead and hop in and get going. As you can see, we're in the HJet today, and maybe even for the first time on this channel, which is pretty amazing because I really, really like this plane. It's just not great for low and slow type of flights, obviously, but since we have a lot of ground to cover and most of it is going to be over mountains, I think this thing's going to be right on the money for this trip. I mean, just look at how good this thing looks. Just love it. I mean, it's been so long since I've flown this. I feel like that they've upgraded something. I feel like I did an update at some point. I don't know what it is, though, because it's been so long. But this might be one of the easiest planes in the entire sim to start up, especially for a jet. So you just have to turn it on, make sure your throttles are set to the idle position, which we already did that, and hit the start buttons. And this thing just automates everything. Your altitude's taken care of, your pressurization's taken care of, your transponder even sets itself up automatically. Incredible. Alright, so we're not going to look at the Google map today. Instead, we're going to look right at little NavMap because I kind of want to show you where we're going to be flying over. So we're right in the middle of central China here, and I was looking for a route that would give us some cities, some farmland, some mountains, and kind of the full suite of colors to look at so you can kind of see how everything looks. We're leaving from the city of Chengdu out here, one of their 5 airports. This one's on the northern part of town. And we're just going to start climbing like crazy because look at this elevation profile we got to fly. Look at that. So we're going to need to get up to about 20,000 feet. And we'll come over these mountains over here, and this is the really cool part of this. Look at this. Look at the elevation of this runway. Almost 14,000 feet. So that's going to be cool and a fun flight. Probably 35 minutes or so in the air. Let me just bring that back over to its usual spot. And zoom in a little bit so I can see where we're taxiing. Just to make sure we go to the right spot. Okay, so I think everything else is good to go. Check our baro. We have to get our trim set to nose up of about 4. So I'm just adjusting that real quick, or it'll tell us we're not in takeoff configuration. Oop, overshot it a little bit. There we go. And I think everything else is good. Let's get our yoke back and our cabin power on. That's it. Alright, so let's go ahead and start taxiing. So one of the things that will be a detractor if you put in the map enhancement feature for areas like this, if we were in the default scenery, all of this spray-painted looking stuff around us, this green stuff, it would look more like grass. Right now, it just looks like blotchy stuff. Once we get in the air, that will be taken care of. So see that little patch of grass over there? It'll all look like grass and the runways are a little bit more defined. But we're not putting this thing in to look at runways and grass. It's the city from above and the mountains and all that, which is going to be great. So this airport is called Chengdu, which is weird because it's probably the smallest airport in the city of Chengdu. But as I mentioned, it's one of 5 of them with a total of 7 runways, which is insane considering how spaced out most of the airports are in this country. And by spaced out, I mean distance between them. Even in a jet, I was really struggling to find a flight that was less than an hour. It's like they were either too close together to even get up to a good cruising altitude, or it was just hours of flight time. So I was really delighted to find this particular spot. A little bit of creaking. Once the sun gets back on that glare shield, I mean, you can even see like the little welts in the upholstery. It's just incredible. Such a great detailing job on this thing. And just the thrill of being able to fly a jet on this channel is something I really delight in. And man, I had a hard time even finding which of these things was the runway. The runway looks like a taxiway. It's so skinny. But it will be long enough for us. Alright. This is the live weather. Cloudless day, and we had 0 wind before. Now it looks like we got a 1 knot tailwind, which will probably be okay. Alright, 1 notch of flaps. Check our baro one more time. Landing lights on. And we're going to be cruising at 20,000 feet. I'm going to adjust it. I'm going to adjust this to 20,000 feet on my external hardware just because it's a little bit quicker if I do it that way than trying to twist the thing inside the sim. And almost there. Whoop, overshot it. 20,000 feet. Come on, baby. Get there. Now it's working too well. All right, that's all set. And we'll use the auto throttle and everything. Let's get our speed bugs on real quick. Bring them in from the sim. All on. And get our flight plan up because I will be adjusting our speed as we're kind of going along. All right, we're ready. I'm ready. You guys ready? Well, let's do it. We're off. Airspeed is alive. And man, once this nose comes up, you don't have to wait to get those gears up. You get instant positive rate of climb. And rotate. We're off. Gears up. And flaps up. All right, autopilot on. And vertical speed will go at 1,500 feet a minute just so we can see a little bit of the city as we're cruising by. And we'll turn on the auto throttle. So since we are going to be at such a nose-up attitude for so long, I'm going to look at a lot of this from the back window here. So one thing you'll definitely notice if you're, and I really encourage you to fly this with the default scenery before you check it out, just so you can see what a massive difference it is. You can't really see any of the elevation of those trees. The roads are not elevated. See, those bridges are elevated down there. Default buildings look like default buildings, but even down there, I mean, that kind of looks like photogrammetry. You're not going to get any of that stuff either with the default. And there's some areas here in about 20 miles where there's an entire city that you cannot even see in the sim. It just looks like a little patchwork of farms. Look at that. The bridges are even elevated off the river there. Just amazing. The other thing is the brightness of the colors, or I guess the depth of the colors. See, some things look a little too green, maybe a little bit too red. You can adjust that in the application. I haven't, like that's way too red there and blue, that track or whatever that is. I can't get it to adjust, even though there are some sliders. In a little bit, I'll show you what the little window looks like so you can see how it works. And I'll show you how to install it and play with it and all that if you decide you want to get it. And I think you probably will after this flight if you like trying to fly around in China, or if you want to, if you've always wanted to fly out here and see some cool stuff. So getting back to our city of Chengdu here, we'll look out this window while we're tilted down. Look at, God, that is just so much better. I mean, it is just night and day difference. Got a little rough air there. The one thing that might explain all the airports in this area is that this city has a population of 21 million people, making it the fourth most populated in all of China, and more jam-packed than any U.S. city. New York City is the biggest in the U.S. That's just a little bit behind this place. But we're kind of sitting in the middle of a big bowl here that is called the Chengdu Plain, also known as the Country of Heaven. And it's also the native turf of the giant panda. It was founded in the 4th century BC and is the only major Chinese city to keep the same name for more than 2,000 years. But people have been out here since way earlier than that, with evidence of human activity going back roughly 4,000 years. So that is the big airport right there. I forgot to write down what the name of it is, but that's the main airport for the city right over there. Also looks pretty good. And this isn't as good as the best scenery in the sim, but compared to what you usually get in China, this is just such an improvement. I mean, it actually makes it so that you can fly around and look at the things that are really on the ground, which you just could not do before. And if you zoom in really close on the satellite map, there's all kinds of cool and interesting structures on the ground, big archaeological stuff, but the way the maps work in China, if you've tried to line things up in Google with what's on the ground, they don't line up. China has done something to sabotage the GPS coordinates so that nothing lines up precisely, which makes it very, very hard to do what we're doing out here, so we're just going to kind of look at it from way up here in the air. But it's beautiful. Really, really nice area. And huge. Really huge. Alright, let's get back up in the cockpit for a second and just see how we're doing for our airspeeds and our altitude and all that. Okay, so 6,000 feet. We'll go ahead and start coming up at 2,000 feet a minute. I'll adjust that a little bit, see how quick we can get up to our 10,000 foot mark, and then we'll crank that airspeed up to, for the auto throttle, we'll make that 250. And then we'll take it up to 265, which will just be under our overspeeding limit once we get up over 15,000 feet or so. So in just a minute, we're going to see a big city on our left called Changzhou. And it's kind of interesting because it appears to be split in half with all of the industry on the eastern side of the city and the residential area to the west. And it's got a population of about 660,000, which is just slightly less than Detroit, to give you a frame of reference, because it is not a big city, as you're about to see. That whole residential side of it, which is going to be on the western side, is only about 2 miles by 3 miles, so they are going to be jammed in pretty tight down there. All right, let's hop back in the back so that that window sill isn't quite as high up there. I got to keep clicking on this screen to adjust my cameras. I mean, that looks fantastic from here. That looks like photogrammetry. It's that good. And it was just so bad before. And I think we're getting out into the area where, in the default setting, there was no buildings on the ground whatsoever. Just those, not even default farms, just what they stick in there when it doesn't know what's supposed to be down there. So the city of Changzhou is going to be coming up here in just a little bit. And an interesting bit of history about that place that's worth mentioning is that this was the location of the first Catholic assembly in China, which occurred in 1803, but they had missionaries working out in this region as far back as the 1600s. Okay, here it is here. So this whole side of the city, as you can see, is really industrial-looking stuff, and on the other side of it here is where all the residential stuff is. Look at that. I mean, the colors all look good. That looks right. When you look at it on the satellite map, that is exactly what it looks like. It looks like all the buildings have elevation. Today, the government in China formally recognizes 5 religions. Those are Buddhism, Taoism, Catholicism, and Protestantism, which I guess you could maybe just combine into one for Christianity. And then Islam. But I couldn't really figure out what formally recognized means. Look at that. That looks incredible. Because there are other religions that people practice, not the least of which is something called Chinese folk religion, which seems to be kind of a hodgepodge of everything else mixed together. But it sounds like only the big 5 are allowed to hold worship, quote-unquote, legal worship services. And even then, they have to make sure they always toe the line for the CCP if they want to keep their doors open. But there's also laws on the books that effectively prohibit minors, anyone under 18, from engaging in religious activities or receiving religious instruction of any kind, though I've heard some rumors that there's some underground churches going on out here. All right, let's hop back up here because we're probably getting up to 10,000. Yep, we are. Okay, so let's go ahead and adjust our airspeed. Well, wait, let's go ahead and just take it right to 265. Why not? And then here come the mountains. And I'm not entirely sure what the name of this range is that we're about to fly over. God, look at that. That just looks so good. God, I wish you guys could just... I wish I had like a split screen or something so you could see on one side how bad the default is versus how good that looks. But I think these mountains are called the Qinglai Mountains. And they get way up there, which is why we're targeting 20,000 feet for our cruise altitude. I think the highest point we're going to cross directly over is around 17,000 feet. And this area we're going to be flying over within the range is called the Garzi Tibetan Autonomous Prefecture. And that actually extends way up to the northwest from here. The whole area is about 58,000 square miles, which is about the size of the state of Georgia here in the U.S., just to give you a frame of reference. And that entire region has a population of about 880,000, which is nearly 80% Tibetan. And it sounds like they were just kind of doing their own thing up here until the area fell under Chinese control in 1950. All right, let's hop in the back and take a look at everything. Yep, that looks good. In fact, the greens don't even look overly green out here. There's some areas where it's just so bad. There's another one of the airports. Look at that. Look at those mountains in the distance. You can see every little detail of them. It's just great. The only issue, and I don't even know if we're going to fly over a section that has it, there's some parts of the tops of the mountains where the difference between the colors looks a little bit airbrushed. But I think for this trip, maybe just towards the other side of the range, we'll get a little bit of that. This is just incredible, though. Let's hop outside real quick. I mean, that is precise. That looks really, really amazing. For China, yeah. Loving it. Or even to get some clouds up here. Beautiful. Gosh, this is incredible. Okay, so while we're getting up there, we got another 4,000 feet to go till we hit 20,000. Let me show you what the map enhancement interface looks like. I'll just kind of keep it down here in the corner so we can see everything going on. So when you first get it, and if you want, I'll put the link to where you get this from. I don't think you can go into like flightsim.to. Maybe you can, I don't know. But I'll give you a link that you can go to, I think, at GitHub to get it. And once you get it, you go through the install procedures. Your computer is going to tell you you're about to blow your computer up. It's got all kinds of viruses, just because it's not downloaded a lot. I went through it. Everything was fine as far as I know, but I don't know how to go and see if it loaded a virus. I haven't heard of anyone else that used it that had any problems. So once you get in here and get it set up, this is what it'll look like. And this is with the Pro version. If you don't have the Pro version, you just, I mean, it'll list the Pro maps that you've got here. You just can't select any of them. So as you go down here, the ones that you get for free are the Google, the Bing latest version, a hybrid map, I don't know what that is, custom maps, and there's an Apple map, which also appears to only be Pro. I thought that one was one of the default ones you could get as well. But you've got a couple different options you can pick. Bing and Google, I guess, would be the two you'd probably be using, because all the others appear to be Pro. And then if you go over here, this is where you can adjust the color settings, and it says right up here at the top that if you adjust it in flight, it will change it on the fly, but I didn't notice any difference whatsoever. One of the recommendations was to set the brightness to -20, and I think if I'm recalling correctly, if you get all the way out, then get back into the sim after you've made the adjustments, at least for me, I think it was adjusting it. It's just not doing it on the fly. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, so if you want to pay for the Pro version, you just click buy here. It'll open up a little web browser. You put your information in there, which is just your name and your email address. You go check your email box. It'll bring you in here, hit link device, you'll be good to go. And again, it was $5 for 30 days or $30 for 365 days. And to open up all of Asia to look this good, yep, for me, totally worth it. All right, so let's get this out of here and take a look at these mountains. I gotta click back over here to do it. It's just really cool. You don't really see mountains that high and that jagged that are covered in trees like that in a lot of parts of the world. Maybe like Papua New Guinea kind of looks like that. But that is beautiful. And when you look on the satellite map, to the extent you can find a decent satellite image, that is just what they look like. That is amazing. All right, so here's some of the, this is what I was talking about. See that airbrushing there? And then it kind of turns that brownish, reddish stuff up there. Only complaint I have is that, but the rest of it looks so incredibly good, I could care less. That's really amazing. You can hear our auto throttle doing its thing. And we could probably see better out the front now since the nose has come back down. Now we're going to hit these nice big mountains just a little bit. Look at that over there to the left. Incredible. Really just beautiful. Okay, so we've got an 8-knot tailwind now, which is just perfect. Speed us over these things a little bit. And, oh, is it going to be too hazy to see it? There is a huge mountain, and there might be just a little bit too much haze to see it. We'll see as we come a little bit further over to the west here if we can spot it. We're going to be getting a little bit closer. There's a really, really tall mountain that I'm going to tell you about once we get out there. But in just a little bit, if I can remember to show it to you, we're going to cross over a river called the Dadu, or maybe the Dadu. Kind of splits the whole range right down the middle. And somewhere along this river, although I don't know where it is, and boy, you better believe I tried to look for it, they are building or maybe have just completed the world's tallest dam called the Shuangjiangkou Dam. And that bad boy is going to be over 1,000 feet high if it's not done already. So if anyone knows where that is, I typed it into the Google map, it didn't bring me to anything, brought me to some place in Detroit or somewhere like that, a Chinese restaurant. It's out here somewhere, but I'd love to fly over it and see if it got modeled. I did check out a couple other places where I knew there were some big dams, and they didn't look great. They were pretty droopy looking. But one thing I have noticed is that when you can find an earthen dam, those seem to look pretty good in here. It's just the ones that are the concrete dams. That doesn't look very great, does it? It's just the blending of the colors that's not great, but the relief is phenomenal. And if there were trees on that, you wouldn't see it. So I think the trees kind of masked that before, but look at all the little rivers running down the sides and everything. I think we might even get a glacier up here too. Isn't this incredible landscape? I mean, it was just breaking my heart. I flew this first with the map enhancement on, then came back out with it off, and I was just like, yep, that's the China that I know. Rotten, rotten, rotten. There we go, that looks a lot better. Look at that. Oh, it's just gorgeous. Incredible. Looks so good. So when we can see this mountain, hopefully we'll see it. I'll tell you a little bit about it now, and then once we spot it, I'll say, hey, there's that mountain. But it's called Mount Gonga, and it's going to be way off there in the distance. We'll probably actually see it as we're coming in on our approach, but I've got it right here in my notes, so I'll mention it now. I found a Google review of that place that I think probably tells us everything that we need to know about it. It said, and I quote, "The most mountainous mountain around, can only recommend, almost died, loved it," which is awesome. And that thing peaks out at... Is that it over there? Let me see. I mean, it sticks so high up in the air, you can't miss it. I don't think that was it. We'll take another look in a little bit. Let's look out the front window, see if we can see it. Well, we'll definitely see it when we're coming in our approach, because it won't be quite as many clouds between that thing and us. But it peaks out at 24,790 feet, making it the third tallest in the world outside of the Himalayan range. And the first explorers that we're aware of to summit it only did it in 1880. And in 1929, some guy climbed up there and miscalculated the height by about 6,000 feet. Immediately called the National Geographic and told him he'd found the highest mountain in the world. Thankfully, they checked his math before they published that, and it turns out he was off. It is closer to 25,000 feet. But it sounds like that beast is not an easy climb. Only 23 people are reported to have done it successfully, and 16 more have died trying to do it. These kind of look like... I'm just looking at the profile, because you know in the tops of the Himalayas, if you go to the Rockies, it's a little bit different, I guess, fingerprint of mountains. Not quite as jagged, not quite as high. I guess this looks like some parts of the Andes, some parts of the Himalayas. The Alps are a little bit more sloped. But, I mean, we're cruising across, what, 100 miles here or so of mountains that look like this? And you get the forest, you get the dry, frozen areas up on the top. Just really looks incredible. Look at that. Oh, you guys got to take this flight and spend the $5 on the map enhancement. And once you get in there, I'm telling you, you're going to be just looking for all the other spots you've always wished looked so much better in Asia. You're going to be flying over them and checking them out. And again, maybe 2024 will take care of this, and it will become redundant to have that. But for now, we still got a few months. So the next few flights, I'm going to be cruising around looking for other spots out here that I've always wanted to check out. Look at that. Man, oh man. And there is just so little population. And I don't know where all those 880,000 Tibetans are living. We'll see a couple tiny little villages as we're coming in. But other than that, even when I was following this big region up to the northwest, where supposedly it extends another several hundred miles up in that direction, there's just not much out here. So I don't know if they do have a few people that are living out here in the mountains or what. Oh, we're getting a little red there. Let's get away from that. Like, look at this right over here. All that just looks so good. We're going to get up in the snow here. Can we see the big mountain yet? That might be it over there. I seem to remember it looking even starker and taller than that, but maybe that's it. It could be. And I guess one of the reasons it's so hard to get to is for a while they weren't letting anyone even try to climb it, but they will let people at least try it now. But it's just so remote out here. Looks a little bit dark there. I may have turned the brightness down too much. That might have helped with that. I mean, it almost looks black and white, doesn't it? That's all right. Still a massive improvement. Look at that view. I'm sorry, guys. This is just... If you've been around for a while, you know how much I've been wanting to come out here. That must be the mountain over there. That's got to be it. That big tall thing over in the distance there. Look at this one right here next to us. Insane. Okay, so before we start our descent here, a couple of announcements. Looks like we got another 20 or 30 miles before we need to start coming down. If you have not yet joined our Discord server and you want to talk to a lot of cool guys, hang out with a lot of cool guys that talk nothing but simming, aviation, and all kinds of other things involving aircraft, gear reviews, plane reviews, spots we need to check out, spots they've checked out, providing some additional commentary about some of the flights that we've taken, hop on that Discord server. The link will be included in the video description. And while you're in there, once every 2 weeks roughly, we may be a little bit off cycle for this upcoming one, but we have group flights in there. We'll use the voice chat feature in there to hop in together. We had about 6 people on our first one down in Mexico. Probably another 1 or 2 more on our trip down up to, I guess, Maine. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, so that would be up from here. Look at the relief right there on that mountain. But I think that's about the right number. If you get too many more than that, you start stepping all over each other while you're trying to talk. In the last flight that we took, if you didn't hear me mention it before, one of our members had made some seaplane bases. Tried his hand at a little bit of modding. It looked amazing. It was really, really cool. Let's check that barrel again. We're good to go there. Everything else is looking good. And on our Discord server, you can also participate in our quarterly flight plan competition. This is now the 3rd one of those that we've done. If there's a spot that we need to check out, and if you have explored areas in China or anywhere in Asia that look really good with this map enhancement, let me know, because I want to check them out while I've got this thing for another, 27 days or so. And if it checks all the boxes, we'll take a flight out there. And at the end of the quarter, I will pick my top 3 or 4 favorite member-recommended flights. We'll upload those links with a poll on our YouTube community page. And we'll vote as a sim community, and the winner will get to select a gift card to the sim vendor of their choice. The last 2 have been 50. Whoa, we're getting that mountain air here. I'm getting airsick. I got my butt kicker on too. It's just shaking like crazy. Wonderful. So all of that and more in that Discord server. Great place to hang out. Of course, there is no benefit for me to tell you to join in there other than I want to hang out with some other cool people, and it is just such a great community. Very knowledgeable guys about the sim news, sim updates. One of our members took me on a helicopter flight tutorial, showed me some exercises I mentioned in that last flight, maybe the one before. I have committed to start flying the helicopters without the assist on. So from here on out, we're going to record our flights without the assist on. I've been talking about it for months and months and months. But I need to just fly for a couple weeks with nothing but no assists. And after a couple of hours of doing it, I am actually now starting to get much better. Still not a pro by any means, but getting better. Look at this turbulence we're getting. And I think what I'm going to do, just like I did with that first helicopter tutorial video, while I'm still green enough to remember all the things I was doing wrong, I will probably upload like a version 2.0, like next step up from just barely breaking into the helicopters to what I'm doing, some of the exercises that the member was showing me. I got to give huge props to Gulf 76, our member that was showing me that. Helped a lot. So I'll show you the exercises I was doing. One of the things, if you're struggling with that I was doing completely wrong, is I would just get up and try to practice going up, landing, going up, landing, going up, and landing. That was not the right way to do it. The right thing to do now, from having experienced it, is to just fly in circles, fly figure eights, fly... I'll show you a couple other things to do. Don't even attempt to try to land until you just get the muscle memory for maneuvering the helicopter. And I'll show you all the exercises I've been doing for that, which will be a huge help, because next thing you know, you just be like, holy crap, I can actually fly this thing, which is a great feeling. Look at that mountain right there. Unbelievable. Just fantastic. Looks so good. So again, once we get to the other side of this range, we'll start coming down. We may see a couple of little towns over to the right, and it looks like both of them have big temple complexes. I don't know how they'll look in the sim. We may be flying too close to them to really see them. Look at that. And those colors look right too. Check that out. I haven't spotted any glaciers yet, but I've been talking too much. I haven't really looked for them. There's got to be some out here in a place like this. But there's just those two little towns. That's about all that we're going to see. But our arrival airport, however, is a bit more interesting. It's called Kangding, and that is the 4th highest elevation in the world at just under 14,000 feet above sea level. And the highest, by the way, is about 100 miles southwest of there. But it only beats this one out by about 500 feet. And the one we're coming into just opened in 2009, so it's still pretty fresh. And I don't know who the heck they're flying in and out of that place, because there's nobody out here. And since it's so high, they had to give it a massive 13,000-foot runway just so planes could have enough room to pick up enough speed to gain any lift. You know, and I haven't tried taking off from there. That'd be interesting to see. I bet I would need most of that runway, even this bad boy, to get going. Because with this thin air, you just don't develop the thrust as fast, and of course the lift is difficult too. So I need to go check out the Alps, because I've also complained about a lot of parts of the Alps not looking real great with this map enhancement, and see if that helps that area much. As far as upcoming flights, we are going to look for some more areas out here. If we can find it. Yep, that is that big mountain over there. See it sticking way up? Now you get a better look at the profile, how high that thing is over there. That's Ganga. Almost as many people have died as have actually made it to the top. And then, let's see, we still got Sydney, and I want to go check out some of the areas. If you guys have checked out the new world update areas and you see anything that's worth checking out, please let me know. And if you don't want to join the Discord server for some reason, that's perfectly fine. Just let me know in the comments, and I'll go check them out. Is this not amazing or what, guys? I mean, this is truly... I mean, just think, if you've been flying since 2020 and avoiding China, now you have a reason to come out here. Take it low, take it slow. It's good. It's really, really good. All right, so let's start thinking about coming on down here. And I'm going to come down to 16,000 feet if the runway is at 14,000 feet. So we'll just kind of slowly start coming down there. And let's go ahead and drop our cruising speed a bit to, let's just say, because it's going to pick up some speed pretty quick, let's just say 225. And we'll start coming on down. Check our barrel again. Come down 1,000 feet a minute, see how we're tracking with that. What is that caution they're saying? Let me look at that. Fuel quantity low. Well, maybe that's one thing this plane doesn't do for you. We don't want to run out of fuel. That would be bad. Boy, we are low. Okay, we'll just bring that up some. That's weird. That's the first time that's happened. Man, I've been having fuel issues with all my planes lately. Am I just misremembering that the sim usually, you know, measures your track and figures out how much fuel you need for it? That is strange. Look at this. All right, we're going to get some photographic trees right here, and it's the only spot where we're going to get it. I don't know why we got trees with relief coming in before, but you can tell as you get closer that those are flat. But it still looks better than it did default. It was just that blotchy, big squares. You know what it looks like when there's no coverage. Look at these little... There's a little population center down there. I mean, I wonder what they're doing out here. What do you do for work? I don't see any mines or anything, like a little pond up there, a little lake. Amazing. Just amazing. They did have an incident out here at this airport that we're coming into that I thought was kind of interesting, so I'll tell you about that. It was in 2016, and it was definitely kind of strange. It was an A320 coming in from Chengdu, which is the area we left from, but the weather was bad, and the plane hit the ground. It was, quote-unquote, a great speed before the runway. That didn't crash, didn't wreck the plane, but it messed up the back gears and the tail, so they did a missed approach. Flew back to Chengdu, I'm guessing probably because there's no maintenance facilities out here. And after the investigation, it was determined that the co-pilot was hanging out in the back cabin while the captain was bringing the plane in. But according to the regulations out here, both pilots are required in the cockpit for landings at high-altitude airports, so just keep that in mind if you're going to fly this one out here in one of your liners. But I mean, what do you think the guy was doing in the back? I'm guessing it was a passenger flight if they were in an A320. But this airport is not getting that much traffic. In 2021, they only moved 25,000 people. They did have 994 flights, but if you kind of do the math there, I mean, it sounds like it's probably passenger flights and bigger planes. And only 3 tons of cargo, but I don't know what cargo they'd be moving anyway because there's not really even anybody out here. So let's kind of hop in the back and see if we can see any of these. Let me zoom in on a little NavMap to see if I can spot where these towns are and see if we can see those temple areas because they look pretty neat on the satellite map. We gotta let that wing come down. Let's hop outside again real quick while that wing's up in the air. Yep, so I think maybe me turning down the brightness as much as I did has made that a little bit too dark. You really got to fine-tune it, and each area is a little bit different, so if you correct it for one area, you might fly into another one, and it doesn't look quite as good, but that's still just real nice, real nice. Okay, so the temple complex, it's got a big square thing around it. Let's see if we can see it. So there's the little population center. I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it either. I think it was more over here, although that does kind of look like a temple complex. All right, I think we just hit 16,000 feet. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I'll show you real quick on the satellite map at the end. Okay, there's our runway right in front of us, so let's go ahead and kind of start getting ourselves all set up for that, and it's a lot farther away than it looks, and I wonder if that's that big mountain over there. It looks a little bit washed out from all that bright light reflecting off of it. Let's take this down to 200 knots. Where are we here on our... There we are. Might even need to use our speed brake a little bit. And let's get our speed bogs up so it'll show us our flap speed and all that, because I just don't fly this enough to remember all that. Okay, so that's flap 1 and gear right at 200, so that's fantastic. We're going to get on down there. Check our barrel again. Catching some gust here. So now we've got about a 7-knot crosswind, 6-knot, not too bad, definitely manageable. And gears. Landing lights. 1 notch of flaps. What a neat approach, huh? And I don't know if that airport is really at as much of a grade as it appears from here, if it's just kind of an optical illusion because of those mountains, but it looks like it's going up quite a bit. I don't think it really is in real life, unless they just want to use it as like a little additional catapult to take off going downhill to pick up speed a little bit faster. All right, autopilot off because it's struggling to maintain speed, and we'll take the auto throttle off and bring her on down. 2nd notch of flaps. And our VREF is probably around 115, I think. Our approach is 115, VREF is around 110, I think. And I'm wondering if the sim automatically calculates the altitude or takes that into consideration when generating those approach speeds. I guess we're going to find out, right? Wow, that looks really cool, doesn't it? Really cool. Look how long that strip is. It is so long. All right, when we're done with this, I'm going to try taking off, see if I can get up. We're a little bit high. So let's bring her on down. We fly so many of those GA planes that it just feels good to have that kind of sluggish response of these jets. It's a nice sensation. And I've been flying with a stick so long, it feels weird to be holding onto a yoke.
2,000.
We must have got over a little mountain back there before. Alright, our airspeed looks good. I'm liking that. Pick it up a little bit as we bring the nose up some.
1,000.
So it's saying our approach is under 110. Which seems odd, but I feel like we're right on the verge of stalling, so I'm not going to go much slower. Well, that does look like it has a grade, doesn't it?
500. 400. 300. 200.
Alright, alright. Everything's looking good. That's a pretty skinny runway, though. I wonder if that's true to life.
50. 30. 20. 10. 5.
And... Alright, flaps up. Let's take a look at how this airport got modeled. Probably not very well. We're getting a cabin altitude warning because we're 14,000 feet, or cabin pressure warning. It's wondering why the air is so thin. Yep, that's alright. That's just the way it goes up here. You have to put on oxygen just to get out of the plane. Alright, I don't know where the taxiways are here, so we'll just see if we can find one. Obviously, that's the airport building over there. Yeah, this definitely has a grade on it. That's got to be just to help the planes pick up even more speed. They probably take off going the other direction and land in this direction, I would guess. Is that a taxiway? There's one. Okay, we'll pull off right over there. Oh, look, they even got a little tower over there that's modeled for us. So that's interesting. So somehow the algorithm knows where it needs to put things like a little tower. And obviously it got some of those warehouses and stuff in Shenzhou, right? So it's doing something independent of just throwing the satellite image up there. I don't know if that tower's really there in real life or not. Oh, look, we gave him some guys to park us. That's great. Hello, fellas. Wonder if they're wearing oxygen. Get some Sherpas up here to haul our luggage in. And I'll turn our landing lights off to not blind you. Yep, I see ya. Yeah, yeah, yeah. More? I'm not gonna give you any more throttle. That's good enough. All right, so just bring these babies back to shut off. Parking brake on. And we'll take a quick peek at little NavMap. Not a lot to see, but I want to show you some things. There is an NSIM-POI in the city of Chengdu. It's a huge stadium. Let's see if I can find that thing. I don't recall where that was, actually, but there's a lot of neat-looking stuff out here. They got some palaces. The downtown area is pretty cool. Now, I thought this was interesting. Look at this. I thought this was a stadium, but it looks like it might be surrounding an archaeological site, because that is not a football pitch. Look at that. I don't speak Mandarin or whatever that's written in, so I have no clue what that is. And in the Google map, the marker for that was like somewhere over here. Nothing is lined up in the Google map. But isn't that interesting? I would love to know what that is. I bet there's some history in this place. Looks like they might be doing some excavating there, and that is right in the center of downtown. Very cool. But I might come back out here and just kind of cruise around low and slow and see how everything looks, because what wasn't default, the bigger stuff looks like it really does out here. Alright, so there's that other big town we came across. And look at this. That is exactly what it looked like in the sim. The colors were all right and everything. Check that out. Amazing. I mean, it was right on the money. Just beautiful. And then we came up here in these mountains. And you know what? They actually did turn kind of a brownish color. Look at that. I don't think it had that airbrush appearance in real life, but it really did change that color, so it wasn't just making that up. And then here is that river that runs down to wherever that big dam is. Now, there's one huge dam I marked way down here, but this isn't it. This is on a different river down here. But look at this. This thing's not small. And that, when you see that, that probably doesn't look good in the sim either. But that's a big dam. I don't think that's it, because that's the Dadu River, and this is called the Yalong River, unless it's just... I noticed some of these rivers, even though it says one thing in here, the real name in Chinese is different, so that might actually be it. But there's a few huge dam spots out here. This is another gigantic one that they're in the process of building. This might be it. No, but that's the Jinsha River. Look at this thing. I'm gonna have to go check that out too. I just put a bookmark on it because it's really, really hard to find anything out here. And then we came on. Let me show you if you want to try to spot where that little temple was in these towns. There it is. And in the Google map, which is newer, the temple is over here. But this is the, I guess, the religious complex you'd call it. And can we see that other little thing that was out there? No, because look how big that is. That's almost as big as that whole residential area. So that little thing we saw was not it. And then down here, we were right over this one. But look at that. Another little temple. Very cool. But look, there's just nobody out here. But this whole region, this prefecture region, this Tibetan prefecture region, goes kind of like this. It goes way, way up here. I mean, it's huge. We just caught the southern end of it over here. And that big mountain that we were looking at and talking about is this thing over here. And I think we spotted that. That was one off in the distance. It was really sticking up pretty high. Okay, so just a reminder, guys, get the map enhancement. Don't be afraid of it. I was so afraid it would mess my computer up. I've had no problems whatsoever. So easy to use, and I would even pony up to $5 for the pro version because that is incredible, as you just saw. And if you find something we need to check out in this area, of course, let me know. I'll probably spend the next couple weeks while I've got it looking for other areas out here to fly over while we do have it. Maybe we'll throw Sydney in there sometime in between. So lots of cool stuff coming on board. Hop on that Discord server, hang out with us, have some fun with us. I cannot wait to see y'all again in the skies. Later.